Okay, well, with your kindness and understanding, Stan asked me last Sunday if I'd say something, and I had not previously planned, and it wasn't until Friday night and this morning that I finally figured out what it was that I was going to do. So I decided to throw the I Ching coins in honor of this event because I think that my brother may well have done that himself. So, who else familiar with I Ching? Okay. It's a good crowd. So, what I threw was hexagram 2, which is kun, I believe, pronounced, over fu, which is, so anyway, number 24. And it looks like this. It's one solid line on the bottom, and it's broken all the way up. And the shortest version of the receptive is bear with things as the earth bears with us, by yielding, by accepting, and by nourishing. That's called the receptive. It's the exact opposite. It's the complementary of the creative, which is number 1. And they have to work in unison. Hexagram 24, Fu, is return, that says, it says, a time of darkness has come to a close, which I thought was pretty great. And I made 3 copies. If anybody wants any of that, that's fine. And there was something else that I did. For those who may or may not, I only brought a few things. It's okay though. For those of you who may or may not be aware of the 4 Noble Truths of Buddhism, I'll repeat them to you. Those of you who have, bear with me. And then the Noble Eightfold Path, because I think as I've known my brother more than any of you guys, 7 decades, this was an absolutely essential part of his life. And the 4 Noble Truths are very simply that, yes, there is suffering. Yes, there's a cause for suffering. Yes, there's an end to suffering. And there is a path that leads to that end of suffering. Which they say, more simply put, suffering exists, it has a cause, it has an end, and it has a cause to bring about that end. My brother suffered a lot. And I'd like to talk about that in a minute. The Noble Eightfold Path, all of which should remind you of my brother, is to have the right view, the right resolve, the right speech, the right action, the right livelihood, the right effort, the right mindfulness, and the right concentration. Near the end of my brother's life, he said, I've never done as good a work as I've done, and I've never been so miserable. I looked up the definition of this as an artist. It's called kintsukuroi. It's a Japanese word, and many of you have probably already seen images of it. It's when they repair broken pottery, which is certainly analogous to repairing broken people. It says to repair with gold, the art of repairing pottery with gold, and understanding that the piece is more beautiful for having been broken. I really worked really hard to try to think of something worth saying, because Stan was kind enough to ask, and I'm not sure that I do. So between writing notes to focus my mind and resenting those notes because I'd rather be spontaneous, I loved seeing the way my brother worked. I loved watching every difficulty become a challenge. Running black plastic pipe through the mountains with a little well house that he built to heat up the water so they could have warm water. I remember the hood of a old truck that he used, and his pony at the time would pull the firewood. And it didn't seem like there was anything he wouldn't attempt. Giving names to the hog, was it Miss Bacon and Mr. Sausage or something like that? And loving them, feeding them and loving them, and then slaughtering them as well to eat, survive. Our culture has created a vast separation between those who buy food on styrofoam and wrapped in plastic with labels, and the people who are willing to be part of that integral process. And our brother was one of them. And one of the things I loved most is the friends he picked. I don't think he ever picked a friend so that he could appear to be smarter than them. I think he picked friends that were better than him in many aspects, in so many different ways, so that each person could be best at something, and that by all mutual efforts, everybody would rise together. I went to Portland for a second memorial service. I flew out there and met with Matthew Spence and Christian and the people that he was in business with, and some friends. And we had and Fawn, and we had a really nice small memorial service. And I had the very uncomfortable task of deciding, what do I want to take home to keep? And I was sitting with Fawn in David's office, and about a half hour before I was supposed to go to leave for the airport, I was on the phone with Cindy and just decided to cancel my ticket. I'm going to buy his car and drive home. So that was a really good 3-day experience for me. I took his socks, which I am now wearing. They're a little small, but I wear them. I drive his car. And the photograph of Adidas is still where it was. And he actually liked cinnamon Altoids, something I never bought. I always liked spearmint or whatever they are. But so I started eating them on the way back from Portland. I still had enough left, so I bought another 10, put half of them in, mixed them up, so I'd never know when it was his or a new one. Some of these are his bracelets. This was one of his necklaces. And looks like he may have worn it a lot because it's worn out. So there are a million reasons to honor a decent, imperfect man who did his very best. And he understood, like I do, that one of the few ways you can get through life without blaming anybody or anything is to always do your best, and knowing that doing your best means whatever your best was yesterday, it can't sustain you into the future. It always has to grow and change. And he was that kind of guy. like you guys. I miss him. I'm good.